Morning, folks. As Claire said, my name's Sean Sutcliffe. I'm one of two technical trainers for the UK and Ireland with Microsystemation. I have been with the company for just over 2 years now. I don't have a background in law enforcement. My background is military. I'm ex-RAF, 24 years. The last 4 years doing digital forensics, and that's how I came to be in the job and standing before you today. What Claire said with the thanks for inviting us along, it's always nice to go places I would never have got to as a student myself. So it's nice to be invited in here and have a chat to talk to you. Really what I'm going to do, I've no PowerPoint or anything like that, but what I am going to do is show you a sort of how-to on what you need to do to get the information from your phone for this afternoon. Okay? Do you all know the make of the phone that you've got? You don't. In which case, I'll do more than one, so then you've got an idea. That's fine, thank you.
Maybe BlackBerry.
Maybe.
It is a BlackBerry. Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see others for the full one.
Yeah, I'll do an iPhone as well. We'll just probably the iPhone's got more data on. The only problem is it takes a little bit more time. So what I'll cover then is I'll look at a BlackBerry first. In fact, tell a lie, I'll do an iPhone first, because then I can be looking at other things while that's extracting. So we'll look at how to get the data out of an iPhone. I've got an iPhone 4 in the box. We will look at how to get data off a BlackBerry, and also we'll look at how to get data off a memory card, because potentially, especially in this day and age, maybe with the exception of the iPhone, the vast majority of the smartphones have supporting media with them, okay? So you need to know the basics about how to get the information off that. Ordinarily, we'd spend 2 days doing this, and I've got about half an hour, all right? So we're gonna have to go at a pace. If at any point you don't understand, please, you know, ask a question. No such thing as a stupid question. I'm sure not from you guys anyway. It'd be me asking them. So, the basics that you need to know. There are 2 types of extraction that you may need to do when you get a phone or associated media. The first type is what we call a logical extraction, okay? More specific to handsets and devices like that. And what happens with a logical extraction is that we put the phone through XRY. XRY talks to the handset operating system in a kind of friendly handshake way, and it's the operating system of the device that decides what information XRY can have. Typically, it will be the live data on the handsets. With the iPhone, potentially you may be able to get some deleted stuff, but not as much since iOS 5. But there's no real need to go into that. So logical is where you're going to get live data. That also counts for memory cards. If you do a logical extraction of a memory card, you're only going to get the live data off that memory card. The same stuff you'll be able to see if it opens up in Windows. The second is a physical extraction, okay? And that's when XRY takes a bit-for-bit image, as FTK does, as Encase does, of that device, okay? And that can be extracted and exported out into a raw binary file. You can either use Exact, which is our physical analysis tool, or you can extract it out and use it in FTK, Encase, other things like that. But that potentially could include deleted data, okay? Much the same as a computer hard drive image. Think of it along those lines. Okay, so this arrives with you, okay? Just bog standard iPhone 4, plenty of them about, but you need to know how to get the information off there. Now, normally, if this were a law enforcement audience, I would go into saying, right, what you need to do is you need to take the SIM card out, you need to disable the Wi-Fi, put it in airplane mode, because you need to isolate it from the network, because it's an investigation that may have evidence that's then used in a court of law. For you guys this afternoon, there's no requirement to do that, okay? So you can just go straight in and switch it on. No, it's all right, I'll just There you go. Okay, so you just switch the handset on, and once it's come live, then you can have a look at it. The first thing you need to do is identify the type of phone it is, because it could be a 4, might be a 4S. Chances are it'll tell you on the casing, but you have to know 100% that this is the original casing and that nobody's tampered with it. Now, if you're investigating a mobile phone, I think having a suspicious mind is probably a good thing. Okay? So, there are a number of ways you can do it. The easiest is to use XRY and see if XRY will automatically detect it from the operating system and what the operating system tells it. Okay? The one thing you will need to do this afternoon is set XRY up. It's not difficult, but because I'm on a little table in the corner and you're kind of all the way over there, I'll try and do it in the air before I plug it in, okay? This is our communications hub. On the back, you've got a computer connector, a key where you put the license key in, which is what makes it work, and a power connector. You're not going to need the power connector today. 3 USB slots in the front, because you can do 3 extractions simultaneously. We brought that in a little while ago at no extra cost to our private customers, and they seem to really like it because they can get 3 times the work done. Okay, so it is as simple as take the connector that says computer and just plug it into the back of the hub. The hub is just basically a USB hub. Okay, it supports Bluetooth as well, but that's not going to come into anything you do. So you can do a Bluetooth extraction through here as well.
Does that write block? Or are you using the software write block?
Yes, it will write block. There will be no information that travels that way. Everything comes that way.
Also, just another one from what you said before.
Yeah.
About somebody going onto a phone and disabling, putting into airplane mode. Isn't that potentially going to corrupt the config of that particular phone? Wouldn't it be better? I mean, just looking at it, sort of, you're dealing with a phone that you're going to investigate.
Yep.
What happens if the actual device is actually, it's got the security mode switched on and it's pin protected?
Very good question. If it is, we have a problem. As far as
all my phones are all pin protected with either a code or a pin number.
And rightly so. What I would say to that is, dependent on the investigation, there is a potential to use jammers, Faraday bags, if you can't get in and actually isolate it and put it into airplane mode. So there are other...
Can you still actually, actually take a physical extraction from the device even though it's encrypted, or does the device not allow you to do that?
That would depend on the encryption and the device.
Well, just take iOS in the iPhone, say iPhone 4.
Yes, we can do a physical extraction in iPhone 4. We can't do one of an iPhone 4S because at the moment, currently, the hardware encryption prevents us from getting in to be able to do that.
Right, so right.
With basically every new device that comes out, the hardware and software encryption get better and better and better, and you're never going to be ahead in this game. You can only play catch up to the best of your ability.
Is the facility within inside the tools that you've got being able to unencrypt that data if you can physically, actually get a physical image? Or is it another case that then you have to break the encryption in order to read the data that you've retrieved?
It will depend on the handset we retrieve it from. We support it's just over 7,000 device profiles currently. Some of those logical, obviously not as many physical. Some physical we can dump and therefore we can look at and data carve. Some we dump and decode, at which point we can get through any encryption, we can decode the dump and put it out in a nice clean XRY report.
Yeah, I think I just asked the question mainly for anybody that may consider this as a career, and they're going to come across many devices, and often people that don't want to, obviously either be a security minded, honest citizen, or somebody that's potentially trying to do a criminal act will obviously try and, protect their criminal activities.
Yeah, absolutely. But you'd be surprised at how many don't. That's the good thing. Just as a little bit of an aside, people are lazy, naturally, even criminals. And you'll find, speaking to the guys in law enforcement, when I train them, probably less than 0.1% handsets come in locked. And when they do, it's normally just a 4-pin passcode, which on certain devices we can bypass with XRY, because people don't want to have to type in "the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog" every time they want to get into the phone.
I mean, obviously, I know more with the iPhone stuff as I've had sort of development experience, is obviously if you try and manually bypass the code, you've got 10 attempts before it wipes the device.
Absolutely, but on some of them we can brute force it.
Yeah, do you brute force the image at that point? Or?
No, that's just to get the security code to gain access to the handset.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah, brilliant, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Great questions, by the way, keep me on my toes. So, basically, once we've got this hooked up as it is, we can then just put it into the computer. And as with everything, the temptation is to try and do it at 100 miles an hour, okay? Let the drivers load. Okay, if you don't let the drivers load, it'll still work, sod's law. But if you...
Is it just Windows based, or do you do it on other platforms?
Just Windows. Something about some changes. We'll restart later. So, once you've actually got the hub, the next thing you need to do, because it's not going to work unless you do it, is the license key. Okay? This is where we make our money. All right, with the license key. And that just, again, straight into the USB slot, which won't go in because it never does. So, put that in. Okay? It's code meter license key, and that's coming up saying it is ready to use, so that's a bonus. So, for the iPhone, thank you, you won't have like a whole choice of cables on your desk this afternoon. You might have one or two. But it's just a straight iPhone cable. There's nothing in there that performs any magic or anything like that. It just allows, it's a bridge for XRY to talk to the iOS operating system. So just plug that straight in and then put the device into the hub. So as an investigator, never have iTunes on your investigator machine, because the minute it sees an iDevice, it starts jumping up and down. And so, but of course, because we have to give demonstrations, we all have to have it on, and there's no way you can stop it. So,
is that sarcastic? Followed by Lionel Richie.
We're an eclectic bunch. Okay, so the simple thing to do now is just to go into XRY. Okay, and that's what it looks like when you first see it. It'll give you a list of the last extractions that you performed, assuming you want one. You can take that off if you don't. There's a couple of quick links, and you can either extract the data from top left or across on the right there. It what, sorry?
6.3.
Oh, is it? Yeah, a bit right. Okay, so going to the wizard. The little green line you saw going across there was XRY loading the 7,000 device profiles. So it's fairly quick, it doesn't take too long. As long as you've got a certain amount of days remaining on your license, you're good to go. So we'll take it to there. Tell XRY what type of device it is, okay? The only two that you're going to be using today will be phone and disk, and you'll use the disk for the memory card, which we'll do in a minute. So I go next. How do I want to find the device? Okay? If I'm a sadist, I'm going to go into Model Finder, okay? Because due to supporting that many handsets and profiles, there's everything you could possibly think of listed there. You can use the TAC code, type allocation code from the IMEI, which will be behind the battery on the back of the phone. Name search, it's just a box. Put the name of the phone in, XRY will recognise it. or if you're doing a lot of the same type of phone, you can choose history. On this one, I'm going to go with automatic because it should tell me what it's doing. 3 types of extraction that we do: cable, Bluetooth, infrared. That's being phased out because we're just not seeing them anymore. It's waste of time and money trying to support them. So mostly cable and Bluetooth. Obviously with the iPhone we're doing cable because it's locked down Bluetooth. And the one thing to remember, if you're the person doing the extraction going through this, it's single click, okay? Because if you start double clicking, it'll be all over the place and get away from you before you know. So be patient, single click, take your time. It's identified it as an Apple iPhone 4 GSM, which is what we wanted. So we can confirm that that's what we're doing. It gives us a picture and it shows us the device overview, okay? Now this is one of the best features of XRY. It's actually separated out in a device manual, so if you identify the handset manually, which is what we'll do with the BlackBerry in a minute, then the first thing you do is go to your device manual. If you don't know the make and model of the phone, you can't until you get to this point. But basically what it does is it tells you what the network is, what the operating system is. It tells you how you can actually interact with the handset. In this case, it's the iPhone Cable 1, which I've plugged in. It tells you all the features and all the information that you can potentially get off the handset. Remember, you're not always going to get everything because the data might not be there. XRY doesn't conjure data, it just takes the stuff that's already on the device. There's also, under other information, absolutely loads and loads and loads of information about it. With the iPhones, quite a lot about jailbreaking if you're wanting to go down that route, although that's not particularly big with our law enforcement customers. But if you're ever in a situation you need to know about it, it's very, very useful. It also tells you at the top here, that's logical, and it also tells you the parameters and the technique for if you're doing a physical dump of the device. Okay, and again, it'll tell you what you may expect to see on a physical extraction. So we're happy, we're just doing a logical, so we go next. Logical full. Logical no files gives you a logical extraction but without multimedia. Physical does what it says on the tin. You can import an image from a previous extraction or a physical image from another dump, and if we support straight to security code, you get the little security code option as well. We're just doing a full extraction. Can I save it to there?
Save it wherever you want.
In fact, I'll tell you what.
To the desktop, you have a bit of a mission trying to find it and that's everything.
Yeah, it'd be right. So, saving it to the desktop, I'll just change the name so we know it's ours.
Yeah, because my phone's in there as well.
Alright, okay, yeah. Just put Lancaster in there. Go next, and that's it.
What encryption, I know on the previous screen you said about encryption, what encryption does it support for the image that you're generating?
What, as in XRY?
Yeah.
Well, that depends. What it basically does is it gives you, it's not encryption and encryption, it gives you the opportunity to choose to encrypt this with a password. That's what it's saying.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. It's just to put a password on so only you and somebody who knows it can access the report.
Sorry, one last question.
Yeah?
I noticed on when it was giving you the device information of what you can retrieve, it said files.
Yeah.
Does that cover, in regards to like an iPhone, does that cover applications and the actual physical directories that exist for the sandbox for the iOS? Because every application is contained with its own walled garden, for want of a better word. I mean,
yeah.
Obviously photos, images, emails,
yes,
are all separate, but what about applications installed on the device?
When it talks about files, it's just talking about the multimedia.
Right, so it doesn't attempt to extract the application?
Oh yeah, it'll get you all the application data as well.
Yeah, because from that could be some quite vital information.
Well, we also have
files inside that. Yeah,
no, absolutely, and I don't want to go too much into the iPhone because we're not. It's just really because it generates a good report to let you look at, and it's quick. But yeah, what it'll do is, and hopefully it'll demonstrate it when we have a look at the report now, is that it will actually extract the app data in its own category. But then you can also go into the documents and unrecognised categories and look at plist files and SQLite databases where all the good stuff is, like the Wi-Fi cache and everything like that. So it does extract all that as well. So if we go to next and then finish, when you're hitting finish, that's it doing the decoding, all right? The first finish is it's extracted the data, saying, do you want to do another extraction or do you want to finish? So this is the finish, and that's the extracted data. So when we go to finish there, and there we go, and that is what your XRY report looks like. Okay, you will always get summary and case data and the XRY system in there. They're just general things to look at. The case data, if it's law enforcement and you have to say what case it is, your number, whoever you are, that's all the stuff. The stuff you're interested in is when you look at device, you can see general information. It gives you the IMEI number, it gives you the unique device ID that iTunes associates with it. Wi-Fi MAC address, Bluetooth address, tells you it's not jailbroken, all sorts of stuff. So general information is a good one to start with when you're doing it, and you might need to remember that for this afternoon. Network information just gives you all the wireless networks that it's been attached to. This particular one, and this is Claire's laptop, bear in mind, Langenholmen is a former prison in Sweden. I'll just throw that one in there. So,
which is now a hotel.
It is a hotel now. So you've got your network information there. App usage, okay, which will sort of tell you the particular apps that we're using, how many times it was used, bearing in mind this is a training phone, so there's not a whole lot of data on it. Did consider using mine, probably. Decided against it anyway. You get a keyboard cache, which potentially can recover every word that's been entered into the phone. So this can be quite useful, especially if you're trying to find a certain word or something like that. We also now, we recover keychain accounts. So any sort of email, Skype, anything like that that's been put in there, then we can recover. If there was a password associated, we'll get that back as well, as long as it's a keychain account. So we are kind of ramping this up, especially with iPhone and Android, because that's what everybody's using, and we are improving with every release. Contacts does what it says on the tin. The one thing to remember when you're going through here, and I know you're all intelligent folk, but it is an easy thing to bypass, is just with the little arrows. If you can't find something you're looking for, it's only because the menu hasn't been opened up. But yeah, if you open them all up, you've got this massive, great long list to look through. So, calendar, again, it'll do what it says on the tin, events and notes. Messages, SMS will be in there. MMS with attachments, if there is an attachment. So, that's a photograph out of our old HQ onto the main road going through Stockholm. So if there's an attachment, it'll bring the attachment out for you. And also, the chat. So we've got here, we've got HeyTel, Ping Chat, Skype, maybe a bit of Viber, WhatsApp. Okay, so all the chat messages associated there that the handset uses, you get the logs for that as well. Twitter status updates, they're also included. Locations, you get location history, and you can also have bookmarks. The locations history on the iPhone can sometimes be a little bit of a mess. This one's been cleaned up intentionally because iPhones cache Wi-Fi MAC addresses like nobody's business. Not something that's our fault, it's just the way Apple programmed them.
Yeah, they tweaked it because it used to start essentially a few generations back where the entire history of where everybody would be,
yeah,
almost, and you clean that up a little bit, but still stores an awful lot of data.
It does, and it's still a real pain for us because it's caching stuff up to 100 miles away, so it doesn't really kind of give us any
That would really
idea.
geo-track some of these activities. I mean, that would be great in the long run.
It would. Unfortunately, the way that the Apple device does it, it just gives us this massive Wi-Fi MAC addresses, and unless you've actually got him logged in on the accounts, then you know you are struggling. There's not a right lot we can do. It'll give you some web activity as well, history like YouTube, any searches, any bookmarks, all that sort of stuff. And then, as we said before, files. It'll give you pictures, audio, video, and documents. The unrecognised category at the bottom, probably not the best named category in the world. It's not that XRY doesn't recognise the file types. What it's saying is that these file types don't fit anywhere else in the report. So things like database files, Java files, blob files, all those types of things you will find in unrecognised. The documents one, plist files are in there, and obviously any other documents that with extensions that you might recognise. In the file system down the bottom, okay, device overview, which you've already seen, and the log file. The log file is just the processes that XRY has used from start to finish of the extraction. Okay. Everyone happy with iPhone? Because I'm conscious we're sort of coming up to lunchtime quickly. So what?
Say, guys, the questions that you're doing are all great, but actually we need to let Sean get through to tell everybody what they need to do for this afternoon.
And plus, if you're just listening to me, chances are you'll get 5 minutes kip before I finish as well. So, okay. With a BlackBerry then. This is just an old sort of training BlackBerry that we've got. And one of the ways you can identify the device is behind the battery. Okay, it's good for getting you the IMEI number. You can identify it from that. Or if, like it says on this one, it's a BlackBerry 9700, I'll probably think it's a BlackBerry 9700. Okay, so I know what I'm looking at. So what I would do now is, firstly, as with every investigation apart from the iPhone, I'd have a look inside and see if there's any multimedia, memory card, anything like that. Because if you do an extraction of a handset with the memory card inside it, the chances are the operating system isn't going to give you all the data on that memory card, if it gives you any at all. Okay? So your best way of doing it is to take the memory card out and do the memory card separately from the handset. And do the memory card first. Okay? Important one to remember. So, imagine, and I know it's a little bit sort of off scale, I don't think you're going to find one of them in a BlackBerry. If you find a memory card in the BlackBerry, this is a right-blocked card reader, an XRY one, obviously. So, it's basically the same principle. Find the right slot for the memory card. Connect it up. It's just a bog standard mini USB connection. Plug it in and wait for Windows to recognise it. Okay, we're ready to go with that. So, okay, Windows has recognised it. You can, of course, always just go in and have a quick look if you wanted to. See what's live on there. Like I say, it's right blocked, so you're not going to do any damage. And of course, you have a choice with a memory card, because when you choose a disk, memory cards use FAT, don't they? And we know FAT. We know what FAT does. We know what it's like. We know how it stores information. We know that potentially there's a really good chance that we could get some deleted data, but we're going to need to do a physical extraction to get the deleted data. Okay, logical's never going to bring it back. So what I would say, personally, I wouldn't bother doing a logical extraction on a memory card. I would do a physical, okay? Because that way, A, it's a binary file, so if you don't want to look at it in XRY, if you want to use some other software, you can export it out. Or, with FAT being supported, if there is any deleted data, XRY we'll give it to you in a nice report format because we can decode fat. So, on this particular, we're going to do disk. Going to go next, we're going to do physical. And of course, when it comes up before, mental note what the drive letter is. XRY doesn't allow you to do it anymore, because if you check display local disks, it's going to give you C, and you don't want to try and make a physical image of your own hard drive. It's never going to end well. I've seen people do it, trust me. So we're going to go next, we're going to save it to the desktop again, and there we go, and that's it. And of course, because we're doing bit for bit, we know the size of the disk, so chances are that it'll give us a reasonable time. This will just whip through. And again, once it's done it and the extraction's complete, it's then up to you to go through the XRY report, check the categories, look for it. The one thing that you might want to look for, if you're searching for deleted data, is check for a column that says deleted. Of course, you're not going to get it in logical, but when you look at this and you go into files and pictures, what you should find is a column with deleted. And if you sort it, you can separate out those deleted files from the live files. So this is the extra you're getting. Might be important to your investigation, it might not. But now you know how to get it, okay? If you want to sort it like that, into deleted, and then you can go across and highlight any and think, okay, right, what's going on here? Everyone happy with how to do a physical on a memory card? Spot on. Okay, so finally, we're going to do the BlackBerry. Now, with the BlackBerry, because we know it's a 9700, we can use the device manual, which is awesome. Okay, so if we go to Help and Device Manual, and I just type in 9700, there is my RIM BlackBerry 9700. Okay, and again, the type of information that potentially we might be able to extract. Any other information gives you a little bit there, I think, about if it's got a media card support, but you want to separate that media card out. What you'll notice, again, as with a lot of BlackBerry, because their security is very, very good, currently no physical capability, but something that's being worked on, I think, by everybody in the business. So use the device manual. When you've identified your device, use it and have a look. Make sure when you read through, if there's anything of interest to you, make a note of it, because it may help you when you're doing your analysis later. Okay, so use this because it is a really, really good piece of kit. So, just going to do, again, a logical extraction of the BlackBerry. Let me just connect this up. Again, what it asks on the screen when you connect it up, and obviously you can't see because it won't show it here, it says, do you want to turn on mass storage mode? You might not be able to access some media files in this mode. What you can do is when you set up a BlackBerry as a mass storage device, potentially you can retrieve deleted images, deleted multimedia files, because it gives it a drive letter, it tells you it's a memory card. But of course then it's not looking at it as a handset. So potentially you could do both, okay? If there's not a lot of information on, you might want to have a think about doing both. For this particular one, I'm going to select no, and I'm just going to treat it as a handset. So I'm going to extract data. I'm going to see if it'll find out what it is. Another interesting, when you go through, if you have a BlackBerry, if it's not pin locked, if it's pin locked and you haven't got the pin lock, you're going nowhere fast, okay? That's pretty much index. You'll be able to do the memory card and that'll be about it. If it's not pin locked, XRY will give you the pin to the device. So as you're going through, just in case, make a note, although you will find the pin in general information in the extraction at the end. So, same as before, what it's giving me here is just a generic BlackBerry profile. So again, just a cursory look down, pretty much everything supported. Anything else? No, again, talking about encrypted encrypted media files, multimedia files rather. So we go next, we're just doing a logical extraction, save to the desktop, and it'll go through. And again, this shouldn't take long because there's very, very little little data on there. So it's going to go through all the various things. There you go. There's next to nothing on it because it's a training phone and it's a nice quick demo one. As I said, if you are still in need of the pin, there you go. BlackBerry pin in your general information. And the rest of it, like I say, there's very little on there intentionally because it's just a nice little quick demo that we go through.